And here we have it, chat. RTK, Alrik, bringing the Bretonnians against XMD, Ice Power Total War with the Dark Elves. This is round 1 of their best of 3 in the HWL Season 6 playoffs. So, without further ado, let's get to it. And start it off in maybe some slow-mo just to make sure we get the armies reviewed before the combat ensues. Got 4 Peasant Mob up in the front, along with 2 Men-at-Arms with Spears. Backing up that Bretonnian front line, we're going to have Peasant Bowmen. Looks like 3 with pox arrows, 1 without. We're going to have another 2 Men-at-Arms with Spears in the back line. And then for the cavalry, and we have plenty of it, looks like we're going to be seeing Questing Knights, 1, 2, and 3. And 4. I can't count right now. And then on the right flank, we're going to see Grail Guardians accompanying the Fey Enchantress on the battlefield. I like that combination quite a lot. Now, up in the air, we have 2 Paladins, both of them on Pegasus. One of them, or actually both of them will have the Guardian trait, so usually don't see that too often. But yeah, both of those guys are going to be bringing it to the field. Down on the ground for the Fey Enchantress, her loadout will be Earthblood, Mist of the Fey, in favor of the Fey, and I think that's going to be it. So yeah, Blessing of the Lady, and that's it. Over here for the Dark Elves, and we can kick it into full speed now. We are going to be seeing a front line of 3 Blackheart Corsairs and 2 Dread Spears. 2 more Dread Spears in the back lines with a single unit of Witch Elves. Nice composition for the infantry here. Got the heavy armor infantry, well, that's pretty quick, dual wielding. Then you have the Witch Elves to support the Dread Spears in the back line to make the Bretonnian Cav have to worry about that rampage. Going to be seeing 2 units of Cold Ones, 1 on either flank. You're also going to see 2 units of Dark Riders with shields. 3 Dark Shards with shields are going to be the missile support for this army. And then for magic, we're also going to be seeing another Sorceress of Fire. She's going to be bringing Burning Head, Cascading Fire Cloak, Fireball, and Dark Star Cloak. Is that what it's called? I always forget. Aha! Yes, Dark Star Cloak. We then have a High Beastmaster with the Tormentor's Sword, as well as a couple other things which I'm not sure about. So, Beast Slaver, and then Feathered Foe Torque. So, looks like the lines are about to meet, and the Bretonnians' infantry is definitely going to have their work cut out for them, but obviously, you know, Bretonnia doesn't really rely on their infantry to get anything done in this fight, as much as they just rely on them to meat shield by time and let the Cav go in and dish out the real hurt. Alright, looks like the Bretonnian Cav is coming out. Grail Guardian's going to dive into the Blackheart Corsairs. This Bretonnian Cav pushing forward, but then going to pull back very quickly. Peasant Mob doing a nice job intercepting and kind of blocking this Dark Elf advance. Obviously, they're going to lose that combat, but time is money, and the Bretonnians are doing a good job now pushing through the gap while the rest of the infantry is blobbed up over there and getting on top of these Cold One Knights, who are taking some serious damage that they really can't afford this early in the battle. Coming over here, we do see the Fey Enchantress and the Grail Guardians taking a ton of damage. We have the High Beastmaster in here laying down some hurt. Questing Knights getting a nice countercharge against the Cold One Knights. And yeah, Witch Elves are in here now too, and they're causing some rampage on the Grail Guardians. And you're also going to see all those Dark Shards pouring in, doing quite a lot of damage to the Bretonnian Cavalry. Burning Head going through the Peasant Bowman, but looks like unfortunately it's going to miss a lot of its targets and not get too much damage done. And then over here, it's just like both players going all in with the chips, and you have a ton of resources on both ends committed to this fight. You have the Fey Enchantress and the 2 Paladins who are just barely leaving combat here. Questing Knights who are chasing these rampaged Cold One Knights, but all the while the Dark Shards have been unimpeded and are just laying in a devastating amount of firepower with those armor-piercing bolts from their repeater crossbows. Over here, we're going to see the Sorcerers of Fire just got killed by the Paladins, and that's a great play for Bretonnia, removing magic from the field for the Dark Elves, and that's going to really help protect their late-game infantry from those burning heads that I'm sure would be coming into play. Dark Shard shooting Peasant Mob, that's definitely not where they need to be focusing, so don't want to see them wasting any ammunition there. I like that they're staying close to this main force of infantry and their lord, but don't want to be wasting ammunition on top of the Peasant Bowman. Over here, the High Beastmaster is getting double teamed by the 2 Paladins. Gonna see Earthblood going down on the two Paladins, healing them up, and the Beast Lord is getting incredibly low on health. He is not going to be able to stay in this fight much longer. He's less than 1,000 less than 1k HP, and he's going to be running away now to try to survive the attack from the Paladins. However, Pegasus are faster than a Manticore. I believe it's 105 versus the Manticore's 85. Yes, it is. And it's going to be, a 20 speed difference is enough to where those Pegasus are really going to have an easy time catching up. But look at this, a big play from the High Beastmaster, getting on top of the Fey Enchantress with the Witch Elves. And now the Witch Elves may be able to rampage that Paladin, allowing the Beastmaster to roam freely for a moment and perhaps kill off the Fey Enchantress. And now the Dark Shards, look at them there, just targeting that Paladin and doing a ton of damage. Like I say, those armor-piercing bolts, nothing to take, nothing to underestimate. They can do a heinous amount of damage, and those silver shields, I imagine, will help them survive the Peasant Bowmen whenever the Peasant Bowmen do turn their attentions to them. I'm actually quite surprised I haven't seen the Peasant Bowmen been focusing on shooting down those Dark Shards just yet. Both players playing this very well. You can see we're getting into the mid-game here. Players are starting to regroup their tattered units, but I think the Bretonnians' cavalry advantage here is going to be just too much to overcome for the Dark Elves. The balance of power is dead even, but now we're seeing the Dark Shards getting compromised by questing knights. And even with the Witch Elves diving in there, there's not really anything to punish the Cav because the Dread Spears and the Cold One Knights are all removed from the battlefield, and that's really the only anti-large power they have in this army, besides the High Beastmaster, who is really in no condition to be carrying fights for a long period of time. Tormentor Sword just went down on top of those Grail Guardians. The High Beastmaster is trying to get into combat over here now, maybe cause some terror, but he is wavering, and it seems like he's going to start routing. Yeah, less than 300 HP left, ladies and gentlemen. This guy, even if he does come back to the fight, he's going to have to keep his very respectful distance from the Bretonnians. Dark Riders with shields are going to be coming back to the fight. I completely missed them. I'm not sure if they were forgotten somewhere or if they were just chasing off some units. But here they come now, going to be able to compromise the backlines, but some Dread Spears look like they're already compromising the backline. However, at this point, the Bretonnians have just defeated the wind conditions for the Dark Elves. And no more missile power, no more cavalry, and no more Beastmaster. So doesn't really matter what happens from here. These Dark Riders with shields are not going to be able to take on the remaining Bretonnian cavalry. But a very nice battle. I messaged IcepowerTW War just before this battle started. He said the first one was a stomp, but I disagree a bit. I think they both played this very well, and there's a couple key moments there where it really could have gone either way, but Bretonnians coming out on top because, I mean, just look at the tattered leadership over here. The Fey Enchantress, both Paladins have taken a lot of damage, but the Dark Elves just weren't able to pull it off. I do think losing magic is always a painful thing, and there was plenty of moments in that mid to late game where I'm sure he was really pissed off he didn't have his caster, because not only burning heads for the infantry, I think that would actually be secondary with the way this battle played out, but can you imagine if the caster, like the Sorceress of Fire, was still alive and shooting fireballs at these Paladins or the Fey Enchantress? I think that would have easily, well, I shouldn't say easily, this was a close game either way, but those fireballs probably would have been a huge multiplier for the Dark Elves, and I would not be at all surprised if both Paladins were dead at this point, and the Fey Enchantress too. So that really could have changed the complexion. I think just goes to show it's why it's so important to stay focused on what your most important units are, and if you lose magic early on in a battle, it can really just make it an uphill slog for the rest of the battle. And here, looks like both players are reforming, the Dark Elves regrouping with the remains of their army, but as I mentioned earlier, I just think this Bretonnian cavalry force is going to be more than enough to deal with the remaining Dark Elves on the field.
wasted here.
Enchantress feeling confident, just going to come in here and start dishing out her mortis and damage. You see that AoE damage going into effect as soon as she got in combat. Now the Paladins are coming in, and that's going to pin everything in place so the Questing Knights can come finish off the Dark Elves. Even, and look at that, they're in their beautiful wedge formation too. The Noble Sons of Bretonnia shall win the day. But yeah, I mean, that was a good fight. I think, yeah, I mean, oh, and Salsicha, yeah, I see you're on the same page there. Fire Sorcerer way out of position, and yeah, I think that play really, really hurt. It didn't lose him the game completely. I still think he possibly could have pulled it off, but those fireballs were sorely needed in the late game when those Paladins and the Fey Enchanters were routed and very low on health. But just goes to show, you know, single grain of rice can tip the scale. Good kills on the Dread Spears, on these Bleak Swords too. These Dark Riders got a lot of value for sure. The Dark Shards performed very well there. They got a lot of damage in. I would have to go back and maybe review the replay again to see exactly what damage they got done, but I just know in those initial engagements, the Dark Shards were shredding the Grail Guardians and the Questing Knights that were coming into that combat with the Fae. So, yeah, I do think these Dark Shards worked out very nicely for them. Cold Knights, they can have a hard time in this matchup, but I feel like they're pretty necessary to bring. If anything, I just would have liked to have seen maybe an extra Witch Elf in this army. But I'm trying to think what you would want to swap out for that Witch Elf. Anyway, looking at Alrik Rawl's army, the Cap did nuts. Really, really good work across all of them. Infantry did exactly what they're supposed to do. Tar Pit and die. And the Paladins were able to get the snipes on the key heroes, you know, eliminating the Sorceress of Fire. And it's so often, like, we always just think it's the other player's mistake if somebody gets sniped. But I also want to shout out, you know, Alrik Rawl's play. That shows, that's a sign of just, you know, of an experienced player based on target prioritization. Recognizing, like, it's time to leave in this engagement. Look at that. That person's out of position. Let's go kill them before our opponent wises up, you know? So taking advantage of mistakes and understanding the priority of targets is something that I think Alrik Rawl demonstrated very well there. And in the end, it gave him victory. So let's go ahead and see what happens in round 2 between these two fine players. So I'll throw up that army blocker. The deadliest weapon is still your fist. Intro card going up, army blocker coming down. And here we have it. RTK Alrik Rawl bringing the Vampire Coast versus Icepower Total War and the Dread Fleet. I put in the Drowned in the intro card. I thought the Drowned was Silostra Direfin, so maybe it just made a mistake there. Anywho, so let's go ahead and see how this breaks down. So we're loaded in the game now, starting with our red player. Let's see what they have brought for us. So Icepower going to be bringing a front line, of what appears to be 4 Morghuls. One of them going to be the Night Terrors Regiment of Renown. They're going to be backed up by 5 zombie pirate deckhand mob with polearm, so the anti-large armor piercing variant. You have yourself a vampire fleet captain with the lore of vampires. Going to be bringing Taunt, Invocation of Nehek, and the Drowned Dead. You're also going to have a vampire fleet captain with the lore of Deep. Going to be bringing Taunt, as well as Denizens of the Deep for that Rotting Promethean summon, and Spiteful Shot for that boost to accuracy. Luther Harkin up in the air with Hornswaggle, as well as Power Siphon. And he's even going to be bringing the Magical Void as well. So bringing his whole kit here. And since there's no range units on the field besides Luther Harkin, I think that Spiteful Shot is going to be used on top of him for his handgun to make him dangerously accurate. But other than that, that pretty much sums up that Vampire Ghost army. So let's see what the other is brought. Now for the Drowned, we are going to be seeing, and look, it is Silostra's faction. I wasn't crazy, because she's the only one with damned paladins. Now, going to be seeing Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob, 1, 2, 3, 4. Single unit of bombers behind them. We're going to have Fellbats, what appears to be 4 of them in the back line. That should be a pain for Luther Harkin to deal with. They're not going to kill him, but they are going to cause him a lot of trouble and distract him, and he won't be able to kill them quickly. Now, on the left flank, we're going to be seeing Sirens, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, along with 2 units of Morghuls. It's a lot of ethereal units here for the opponent to for Icepower to deal with, and I don't see magic damage in his army for the most part. So we'll see how he fares. He does have the magical void though for that 30% missile resistance, so you know that's always nice to have. Other than that, for the leadership, as I mentioned just a bit earlier, we have 2 units of Damned Paladins. I love it. I love it. I love it. Cool to see a hero that can only be brought by this faction. Looks like they're both going to have Foe Seeker, and that's going to be it. Now for the leader, we have a Vampire Fleet Admiral. He's got a pistol and the Lore of Vampires. Going to have Opal Amulet for that 22% word save for 22 seconds. Got Invocation of Nehek, as well as the Drowned Dead. And let's kick it into full speed to see exactly how this plays out. So neither player has guns except for their lords, and then I guess 1 unit of bombers. So very uncharacteristic of the Vampire Coast, but both players going for pretty much all melee builds. I am looking for magic damage across the field, but I feel like this is going to be really rough for Icepower Total War. I do not see how he's going to eliminate 4 Sirens from the field here, let alone 2 Paladins. There's no Spirit Leech or anything like that. Not even the, what is it called? The Tide's Call or something? Basically the breath spell that goes down like a tide that does magic damage, but that isn't here. I don't think Morghuls or anything else in this army do magic damage, so if there's any Vampire Coast mains out there, feel free to step in and correct me. But this looks like it's going to be really, really tough. Already the Damned Paladins getting on top of the Vampire Fleet Captain with the Lore of Vampires. Going to be seeing summons coming down. And yeah, it looks like both players just like embracing the blob, all pushing in here. But look at this, the Fellbats coming in from the rear, getting those rear attacks. That's a very nice play. Fellbats are large units. No, they're small units, so the Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob are not even going to be doing very well against them in combat because their bonus versus large is going to be basically useless. And the other big concern is it seems like most of Icepower's units are already committed to combat and they're just in this blob. Whereas you can see Alrik has 2 free Sirens. These guys moving up, I guess, you know, here's another unit that's free for Icepower, but all in all, it just kind of looks like this fight is going the way Alrik intended it to, and I'm already getting worried here. You can see a lot of damage going down in the initial combat. The bombs are now in the mix, and these guys are uncontested, and they're just going to be decimating all of the zombie infantry from their opponent. But look at this, the balance of power going significantly in favor of Icepower right now. But is it a red herring? Because this is one of those fights where I think no matter what the balance of power says, I just care about how you deal with this. Alright, 1 damn Paladin getting an Invocation to Heck after taking a lot of damage, so clearly Icepower's army is capable of dishing out damage. I'm not sure how they're doing it, but they are. And as it comes to the Sirens, still virtually untouched. There's the 2 that are in combat that are both very healthy. One of them basically full health. And then you still have the 2 over here on the flank in reserve, so... yeah, this isn't a nightmare. it does seem like both players kind of had the exact same idea, but I think going to be the thing that the deciding factor is going to be the ethereal units. Luther Harkin is a tough SOB though, and as you can see, he's still in there doing just fine. So who knows, maybe Luther Harkin will still lead his army to victory. That spiteful shot. I forgot. Okay, so spiteful shot does imbue magical damage to his ranged attacks at least. So, oh no, it gives him magic attacks melee too. So, holy cow, I'm totally messed up, and I need to apologize to Ice Power Total War. He does have magic in this build. Spiteful shot, for some reason I thought just gave ranged units magic damage, but it works in melee too. And that means Luther Harkin is actually crazy dangerous for these ethereal units right now. Well, would you look at that, chat? I'm learning something new every day. I'm not a big Vampire Coast player, but clearly Alrik and Ice Power are. Looks like the reinforcements have come in. Got more Sirens pulling into the fight, and just like that, the balance of power is really starting to shift over to Alrik Rawl, as these Sirens just seem to be unstoppable. If it was just the Sirens or just the Paladins, I think Luther Harkin could pull it off with the Spiteful Shot, giving him magic damage, but yeah, they needed something like a Tide's Call or something along those lines if they really wanted to get through all of these ethereal units. Can you imagine a cast from Tide's Call on top of that juicy blob here of Sirens? That'd be some play of the day material. Going for the full surround, going for the canny. Alright, the healing is getting eliminated for Ice Power Total War unless something happens lickety-split. This Vampire Fleet Captain is going to die. There he goes, down for the count. Looks like a breath going down there. I'm not sure if breaths do magical attacks or not, but I don't think it really matters. Either way, it looks like he got some good damage done. Taunt going down on top of the Vampire Fleet Admiral with his pistol. But the Damned Paladin and some Sirens are coming over to support. Make that 2 Damned Paladins, and suddenly the tides are turning against Luther Harkin. Yeah, Ice Power's just got his heroes, and they're fighting for their lives, but they're getting surrounded. A ton of infantry blobbed up on top of them in the form of the Sirens. They got the heroes triple teaming Luther Harkin, and that's going to be a GG in a fun series. Better luck next time to Ice Power, and look at that, I haven't even updated the scoreboard to make it 1-0, so for those of you just tuning in, this was their second round, and it's going to be a 2-0 victory to Alrik Rawl, and then they even summoned the Rotting Prometheans just for good measure. Yeah, Alrik Rawl's build was very good, especially for this mirror match. That was clever. I liked it. But other than that, not much to say. It was just a big blob engagement, and like I said over and over and over, ethereal units won the day. I did like that Spiteful Shot was in there, give him that ethereal damage, but that magical damage. But honestly, in hindsight, it's just not enough. I mean, he could have given the magic damage to one of the Mournguls and got them in combat with the Sirens, and that possibly could have just stomped some Sirens. But I can see, going into that battle, you're not usually expecting 6 ethereal units against Vampire Coast. And so when it happens, it can catch you off guard. But, I just think a good game to both players. Ice Power, thank you so much for participating in the playoffs. I hope to see you again next season. And RTK Alrik, he was ranked number 1 when the Season 6 playoffs began. He was literally number 1 on the leaderboard. So I think just demonstrating it here, very clever build, very solid play. And in the end of the day, I just think his build was a bit more versatile than Ice Power's. So GG's, and let's go ahead, find another replay to watch.